most of the plant sales were fundraisers for certain charities and other things. So that's how I was trying to give back to the community. All right, so this is how I started. Thankfully, my mother's dear friend Danielle was getting rid of her old sunroom, which was just basically a room full of windows, as many of you know that. So she thankfully asked me, she was like, I know you're trying to use recycled material, can you use this? Because it was just gonna go to the dump if I didn't. So in the top is just us measuring the windows and the space to see how long and wide it was. And then Falls Point Marine, which is a dear family friend of ours, thankfully let us use a lot of his extra wood from extra floats. So that is where I got most of my lumber from. The bottom is where I had been placing the greenhouse, so you can just see like the before and after of everything. I had to clear out a spot. All right, and this is us loading up the wood, basically. And as I got there, I was like, who doesn't want a bridge for their greenhouse, right? Like, bridges are cool. So I asked him, and I was like, can I have this bridge? And he was like, absolutely. So thankfully, Carter, the owner of Falls Point Marine, helped me load it up into my trailer. All right, and so as for all of the payment, they told me they wanted to just give it to me. They didn't want to be paid, but I felt that I needed to repay them somehow. So in the top, you'll see me baking some cookies for them as like a little thank you, because who doesn't like sweet treats, right? Like, everyone loves cookies. So this is me just baking some gluten-free chocolate chip cookies for them as a thank you. And then as the bottom, you can see that I moved into just building out the mats and setting up the base for the sunroom, because I was just planning on using the sunroom as kind of like my main focal point, thankfully. Some of the challenges I faced, as you can see, there wasn't a lot, thankfully, and there wasn't a lot to stress about. It was kind of just finding recycled lumber to begin with, which I had no idea where I was going to get it from. Thankfully, Falls Point Marine pulled up and let me take off most of his lumber from him, so that was really, really nice. Scheduling for the excavator, that was a pain, but thankfully Andy Williams, our dear friend, had one, and he came out and helped me super nicely. Lastly was working out a time with my father, because he is a very, very busy man. We own a boatyard, if you guys don't know this, so he has a lot on his shoulders right now, and he's doing a lot. So just scheduling time with him and having him help me out was a pain, but we got it managed. All right, and then this is the next. You can see we asked Scott Dugas for some rock to lay out in front of it, so I got some nice little rock next to my bridge and everything. And the bottom two photos is actually me, my mother, and my cousin. We were all going to Gilson's to fill up like marigolds and everything for our tomato plants. And the other photos of us pulling up old wood is just from the bottom of the sunroom, so we can get the sunroom out. All right, and so this is kind of our removal of the sunroom, as I would say. This is just pulling apart all of the windows, and that was, I don't want to say a challenge, but it definitely wasn't helpful, because they used some super tight glue to hold the windows together, which was a pain. But thankfully, we got it all. We got it in the trailer, and we got it shipped back to our house. And this is really nice because it kind of just cleaned off Danielle's porch for her, and she realized that she wanted a porch. That's the whole reason why she was getting rid of a sunroom. She realized that she didn't have much work to do for her porch, so it was really nice. It worked out. All right, this is like kind of just like the moving, beginning everything. This is us rebuilding the sunroom from taking it down and rebuilding it, basically. So this is like everybody, and thankfully this is where I had my tall brothers and his friends, because I am a little lacking there in height. So I had to ask for some height reinforcement to help me load up the roof on this greenhouse. So this is just me and my emotional support dog, Murphy, loading up and rebuilding the whole greenhouse. So this is just kind of moving in to the greenhouse. This is like trying to find, I don't even have a back wall on this thing yet, guys. This is just me getting rid of some old desks that we had, kind of like as a placement to hold all the plants, and just things I found on the side of the road to just fill the space. All right, some of my successes. A major one was getting it built within the 3 weeks. We don't have all of like the landscaping done yet, but that'll be done soon. So that was just a major success. The recycling in the old sunroom, that was a huge plus, because without it, I don't think I'd have very much of a greenhouse. We used 100% of recycled materials. That was pretty awesome. And for money-wise, I only spent about $150, maybe a little less, and that was only on screws to hold the whole thing together. And the major, major thing about this was using it this spring and the future growing seasons as like the main thing, because we didn't have a lot of space for that. So now we do. And I got to decorate it on the bottom with some little porch decor, because who doesn't like decor? All right, this is me finally loading up everything into the greenhouse and planting and everything, because I love plants, if you can't tell. So this is me just putting all of my seedlings and looking at all of the cool plants that I have in there. And this is my father. This is my father is in the orange in the top, if you can't see. This is the last bit that we did. This is where Ulrich's and Boatyard came in clutch. We had a bunch of extra wood that he helped me use to create this watering bench, is what we're gonna call it from now. So it's basically just a bunch of trap wire, because my family is also lobstermen. And so we have a bunch of extra trap wire laying around. So we built a watering bench for me so I don't ruin the rest of the benches by watering my plants, because that's a major thing to keep them alive. This is finally where I got the idea to wall in the back, because greenhouses need 4 walls and mine only had 3. So we used a bunch of extra metal pieces from our shop rebuilt. We had to rebuild our shop due to a fire, but this is just some extra material that we used to wall in the back. That thankfully was really nice, and it keeps it very, very warm in there. The bottom is just one of my multiple Target and Goodwill runs, because everyone goes to Target, guys. So you don't want to know how much I spent on that. It's only like $10, but like it wasn't bad. That's from the dollar section to Target, like right in the front rows. So that is just how I kind of like decorated my greenhouse. So my takeaways from this project: measuring and building. To begin, I wasn't really great at using a tape measure, guys. The little tick marks in between the numbers, no idea what they were. So that was a major takeaway. I got to figure out all of that, even though I used kind of a cheating one that had the marks written out for me. But, you know, I still learned. Building it in general, I had no idea how to build and design. My father, thankfully, helped me with that because he's very good at building. I'm not. So using tools, I barely knew how to change the drill bit on a tool. I didn't know that there was different tool things. Like I thought each drill came with one little thing and you had to buy different drills for different screws. I had no idea. So just using tools in general was something very, very new for me, which thankfully my dad, I feel so bad for the poor guy. He had to tell me everything, like there's a star bit apparently, no idea. So just using tools in general was super cool and very, very hard to learn, but I got through it, so that was really nice. Just a major thing is support locally. Like try to support your local farmers market, trying to just support local things, because after doing this myself, I realize how much time and effort is put into these things. I have learned to be self-sufficient from this. I can fully grow my own seeds and seedlings, whatever you want to call it, in my greenhouse now before I plant them in the spring. And a really, really big thing for me is the willingness of my community and the people around me. I've had insane amount of help on this thing, and I am so, so grateful for them. Like, all of the wood, all of everything was just so nice, and I'm so thankful for that. We're getting toward the end, guys. This is my thank yous. My thank yous, Ms. Peterson and Ms. Levitt, for just having this whole project and letting me do it. Ms. Blyer for being my advisor. Falls Point Marine for being the major contributor of lumber. Danielle Fox for giving me the sunroom. Andy Williams for the excavation time. Ulrich's and Boatyard for some extra wood as well. My tall brothers for the height reinforcement. My parents for just being there and helping me with like everything along the step of the way. My uncle for that as well. When my father was busy, he came and he helped us. My emotional support dog, Murphy, because he was a major contributor to the stress of this, and FHS for this opportunity. Is there any questions? All right. Any questions? Ms. Levitt? So the question was, how long will it take to finish the space? Honestly, it would probably, depending on when we can get the excavator back, it will take about a week maximum. We just really need to get rid of even it out and just lay out some more rock. So that's really much all we have to do. All right. Yes, up there. So the question was, what kind of plants do we grow? A lot of it was tomato plants. We have summer squash, we had cucumbers, beans, like everything. Anything under the sun. All right, yeah.
Did it inspire you to want to do future building or anything?
The question was, did it inspire me to want to do any future building or anything? Honestly, yeah, because building, I have figured out, is really fun. Even though I had no idea what I was doing for most of it, I really liked it, and it's really cool because you never know what you can build using scrap. All right, any other questions? No? Sweet.
All right, you want to hit it?
Let me know when you're ready.
All right, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our senior project presentation, Slugging with the Sea Dogs.
My name is Kempton Vonglinski-Gregoire.
My name is Keegan Shea.
And I'm Robert Landry. So over the past 4 weeks, we've been fortunate enough to score a job shadow with the Portland Sea Dogs. And for a little bit about why we wanted to do this, all of us have been heavily involved in baseball over the course of our lives, and we love the sport a lot. And also, we've been growing up going to Portland Sea Dogs games, so we really just wanted to take a look on the inside and see how things are run. So some of our project goals were we wanted to gain experience, kind of just like in the real world, in the job setting, to like see exactly what goes on and what needs to go on in order to run like a sports game on the professional level.
We wanted to help out in different departments, so with all of us going into college next year, me going for stats, and these two going for business, we wanted to get a jump start on our majors, see what we're getting ourselves into, and maybe gain some knowledge that will be helpful in college.
And ultimately, we really just wanted to form connections. Connections are so important, and we knew we'd be around professionals every single day. So we wanted to ask those questions as we're around them and gain knowledge that we can to help form those connections that hopefully will stick with us for quite some time.
And lastly, we just wanted to have fun.
So, we all got to start out somewhere. When we first got into the internship, we weren't 100% sure on what we were expecting. So we started off with some more like mundane, basic jobs, packaging tickets for people to pick them up, putting together educational packets for when schools come in for they have an education day. But one thing that was really reassuring was our supervisor, Chris, who set everything up. It's who we were mainly job shadowing. He spent a little bit of time talking about when he was at our point, where he was in the ticket office, doing the grunt work, the really basic jobs, so that he could work his way up to now where he is as vice president of fan experience.
And as we got farther into the internship, you could tell we started gaining more trust with the people around us, enough to be posted on the Portland Sea Dogs Instagram, which is pretty cool. But we also got to go check out the clubhouse, the press box, so some pretty cool spots that not a lot of people will get to go to. And also a little bit, our jobs took more responsibility as well. I actually worked in the ticket office where I actually sold tickets to actual customers. So you could tell that we started gaining more trust as the internship went along.
And then eventually we got the great experience to work an actual game. So this was the education day that Kemp had mentioned. So there was about 5,000 kids running around the baseball stadium. So one of their busiest days of the year. Now, the job that I got was fortunately I got to be able to be the bat boy for the day for the Sea Dogs. So this gave me a whole new look. Like we'd gotten to look through the clubhouse, but now I got to see it with all the players in it. And I also got to meet the clubhouse manager and the manager of the equipment. And he told me something that'll stick with me till this day or forever. He said, never walk by a job that needs to be done. So whether it's like a half-full trash can or a dirty towel or something, because if you walk by that, eventually it's just going to build up. And then when something big happens, everything's going to be so overwhelming. So if you get these small things out of the way, you won't have to worry about that.
And just to talk about my experience on the game day, we all kind of got a little bit of a different experience. I wasn't lucky enough to be the bad boy, but I was actually, the top left photo, I was welcoming people into the stadium as the ambassador, just basically telling people where to sit. Honestly, in the beginning, I really was lying when I told them where to sit because I really didn't know the stadium. But as the day went on, I started to understand, so then the people who came up to me after got the right advice. But that was a really good experience, and I think you had a little bit of a different one.
And yeah, one of my favorite experiences was if you guys have ever been to a game, during like the 5th inning, Slugger rides in on this like golf cart, and so I got to actually drive that across the field on the warning track, and I got to like look out over the stadium, see all the kids in the stands, and it was kind of just like a cool memory that I'll have forever.
All right, so like most projects, we had our fair share of challenges. One of the biggest ones was scheduling conflicts. So believe it or not, our baseball got in the way of this baseball. We had to work around our practices and games after school every weekday, and with the Sea Dogs having most of their games on home stands at 6 o'clock in the evening, we really weren't able to make any games because of our practices and games.
Another challenge for us was communication to actually get this internship, because believe it or not, the Portland Sea Dogs, their top priority isn't getting 3 boys a month-long internship. They have a lot of other stuff to handle, and they're a big organization just with a lot to do. So getting that internship in the first place was a little bit difficult because it caused us to be patient almost on waiting to hear back. It took almost a month to hear back from them. We actually had to start thinking about plan Bs, but we're really glad it all worked out and we wouldn't have changed it.
And then a challenge that we kind of saw in the office was weather. Whenever there was a cancellation for a game, it got moved back to the next day, which meant there was a doubleheader, and all that means is there's less time to do more, so that there's a lot more stress going on around the office. And then another thing was downtime. We didn't really expect this going in. We thought a really busy organization, a lot of things to do. There'll always be stuff for us to do, but especially on Mondays when there's no game, it's a lot just like catching up from the weekend, and we had to find ways to make ourselves useful.
All right, so some of our takeaways. One of the things that I didn't realize about the Sea Dogs was that it's actually a much smaller group of employees than we'd originally thought. So I'd figured that they had many different kind of divisions that they would have that we'd be able to work around and work with, but it was really just a small group of about 15 to 20 people, maybe, if that. So these small jobs that we were doing, like we had mentioned, such as restocking the fridge, by us coming in there and being able to do these jobs, that actually frees up more time for the people that are higher up, like Chris, to be able to set up sponsorships and meet with the marketing team and do whatever they needed to do in order to stuff that's more important than refilling schedules throughout the stadium. And then another takeaway was that the positivity and productivity in their work environment. As you can tell, we had a lot of fun with these guys in the ticket office. They had their dogs in there some of the days. But it's really important. We saw that everybody was always smiling and everybody was always they're still being productive. Whenever a phone's ringing, they're always picking it up. But at the same time, everybody's laughing and joking around with us.
And then more takeaways that we had, willingness to learn. How Robert actually got the Bat Boy gig was our supervisor just basically said there was a mystery job, and someone had to step up and take it, and Robert immediately jumped on it, and it could have been some boring job working at the concession stand, but rather he was able to have a really cool experience because he was so willing to do it. And then another thing that we learned was adaptability is often the best ability, which kind of goes hand in hand. Like I said, we didn't know exactly what we were getting into in the internship. So when we went in, we had to find ways to make ourselves useful. And by doing whatever they threw at us, we became more valuable to the company, which then moved us up in the rank, as we talked about.
So 80 to 100 hours. 80 to 100 hours is what Chris told us he works in 1 week. You have to love what you do to be able to be in this business, honestly. I mean, I know not everyone's working that much within the Sea Dogs, but Chris is working 80 to 100 hours on a homestand. And that's crazy to me because that's probably more than I worked my entire life. Not really, but another thing was in the beginning, like I said, we wanted to make those connections, and we really did. By the end, we can definitely say we've made connections that will last a long time. Robert and I actually went to a game this past Sunday, and we were welcomed with open arms immediately. We felt the impact and the difference. Basically, so we still sort of felt like we were part of the team. We go sit down in our seats, and throughout the game, Jesse, Alan, Melissa, and Chris, all of our good friends there, all came up to us during the game and just had a conversation with us all at different times. And we were just this isn't, we feel like celebrities. We feel like we're a VIP right now. And they're just coming up to us, and we said, we have a completely different outlook right now on these games, because we literally know everyone, and we just feel so, cliche, at home there. So those connections are made, and in the future they gave us opportunities for jobs or internships down the road that some of us might take.
All right, and one of our, if not our biggest takeaway was the community involvement that the Sea Dogs have. We got the fortunate chance of seeing a lot of what they do for the community. It could be anything small, like just giving out 500 free tickets on Good Neighbor Night is what they call it. where we actually help package these tickets, and they just bring them around to the neighboring businesses and homes, and they just give out these packets of free tickets so that people can come to the game kind of as like a saying thank you for like dealing with the traffic and everything else.
And then it goes as far as the Sea Dogs work closely with Make-A-Wish, which many people are familiar with. They also work closely with the Barbara Bush Children's Hospital, where actually Slugger, the mascot, goes in and gives them frequent visits just to cheer up kids' days. And we actually got this amazing opportunity of meeting this young man here. This young man's name is Cameron, and he was diagnosed with leukemia about a year ago. He's been battling it ever since, and he was he was a part of this year's Slugger Kid Hall of Fame, and it's where Slugger and the Sea Dogs have a poster child where they go out on the field and they just take a photo shoot, like take so many photos, and we got to be there and sit in and watch that all go on, and it was really special. And they actually let us take a photo with him too, and I mean, I don't know about them, but that was the most special moment we had, and it just gave us almost a different perspective and outlook. And it just goes to show that the Sea Dogs tell us they aren't necessarily in the baseball business, they're in the business of making memories, and they went on to show us that.
And then one of the last things is skills from FHS. So public speaking, our wonderful teacher, Ms. Belier, helped us with this presentation, obviously. Professional communication when it comes to like emailing, we couldn't just send like a super casual email to Chris, like, yo, give us this internship. We had to, find a way to communicate with him that made us seem valuable. Work ethic, going into the internship, we can't slack off. We have to, keep working and working and working. So that we're, not just high school interns. We actually became like valuable members, and then meeting deadlines with this, whole presentation and making sure that we're on time with everything.
All right, so a few of our thank yous. Obviously, we'd like to thank Ms. Levin and Ms. Peterson for setting up the senior projects and helping them run.
We'd like to thank Mr. Tracy, our faculty advisor, for overseeing this project.
Peter Wagner, who is our field advisor, helped us communicate with Chris.
Chris Cameron for really setting up this whole thing and giving us the opportunity to even go to the ballpark.
Jesse Staglione, Melissa Mayhew, and Alan Barker. Those are the three that made our experience really fun. I mean, there were many more, but they made us want to be there every day, and the rest of the Portland Sea Dogs organization.
And Freeport High School for this opportunity.
Are there any questions? Are there any questions? Good.
Ms. Edwards?
So in the majors that you guys are going into, are you going at it with like a sports angle?
So the question was, the majors that we're going into, are we going at it with a sports angle? I hope to be. When I grow older, it would be one of my dreams. I know Keegan's going in partially with sports management, and then Robert, I don't know if you want to.
For me, right now, I'm just looking at like business. So it was really good to get to see like kind of the side of like how they think of like marketing schemes and all that. So that's what I was more looking at.
Ms. Bly?
You mentioned that you were offered some job opportunities or internships this summer.
Mhm.
What were they, and are you taking them?
So the question was, we were offered jobs and internships for the future, and what are they, and if we're taking them. For me, I'm really looking at working there partially this summer. I want to keep these connections that we made because they're so important. And then in the future, I'd like to intern with them as well. So this project really helped me find that out. But you guys want to answer that?
Yeah, I think so. Mostly the jobs that we'd be doing. Actually, after I was the bat boy, the next day when we came in, the clubhouse manager, he handed me his like information on a card. He's like, because he offered me the summer job pretty much, and it was like, well, I already got one, but so he handed me, he's like, text me, call me whenever you get the chance, whenever you can work a game. So I was like, all right, I will.
Any other questions?
All right. Here we go. All right. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for coming to this. Because as I said before, if you came to this, there's so many better things you could do with your time. But welcome to the presentation of my thing, whatever you can call it, 321 Showtime, which was the creation and production of an original stand-up comedy show that I performed here in the FPAC just 5 days ago. Ain't that interesting? I'm also gonna have to go back and forth to move the slides because Clicker just does not want to cooperate. Yeah, this was definitely a very strange but also very interesting project to do. Again, this had to be made from the ground up. I didn't want to have to rehash anything that I had seen before. I wanted everything that I put up here to be as original as possible to me and my life experiences, which I think I got good. I think I got okay. People in the audience seem to like it. I don't know. So things with the project they started fun, they started simple, you know. My goals were simple and they were sweet. I wanted to learn how to write comedy better. I wanted to learn how to use some of the FPAC's technical systems. And I wanted to learn time management better. These are simple. Too simple. Because sure enough, within less than a week, I already had to almost double my goals. And this is just a fraction of them. Now I needed to figure out how to do my own style of comedic writing. I needed to figure out how to incorporate lights, sound, and other physical movement or physical comedy into the show in an organic way that works for the audience. And I needed to reduce my procrastination, which did not, that last one, that didn't go too well. So week one was relatively simple, as I said before. I mainly spent the first week doing writing, doing planning, setting a couple deadlines for myself, because there's a lot of things that I didn't even think about that had to go into this. Firstly, I had to set a deadline to get the script done. Pretty simple, doesn't need a lot of thought. But then I also needed to set up a deadline for things like, I might want to make some sort of advertisements, so I need to figure out when I'm going to do that. I need to figure out when I'm going to have posters done, because those are something that you probably need to tell people, hey, I'm doing something, and so on and so on and so on. So yeah, first week, relatively simple. I'm content with this. I know, and also very engaging pictures. I know. Week two is more or less the same, with some new additions. In the first week, I set plans to get the posters done. I wanted to have that done by the end of the first week. However, I did what's called setting your ambitions too high and getting your head stuck in the clouds, because what I wanted to do was have a picture for the posters of just like a lone mic stand just standing right here with the dramatic spotlight on top, and then and there's like a big fancy font on the top, just have the show name and everything. Now, that might sound simple, but believe me when I say it took a ridiculous amount of planning, and after a week I realized this isn't gonna work. I need to do something else. So I immediately switched to contacting a friend who's experienced with graphic design and saying, I need help. Can you please help me? And luckily for me, they were like, I got you, bro. I got you. So quick shout out to Nina Tiffany, who helped get this poster made. I also had to get a little edit made on it after this is the first version of it, and I had to get a small edit made afterward because she made her name so small. Which also delayed the posters going out, and admittedly, I could have acted on that earlier. But also within this second week was where I made the first advertisement that I didn't put this out immediately, but luckily I was able to follow my plans to get this out within the next week. And ignore my stupid face here. This is just the full video that I was able to cut with slides.
Hi. I'm doing a comedy show on May 27th at 7 o'clock in the Freeport Performing Arts Center. So, if you're free that day, you're looking for something to do, come on down. It'll be a fun time, I think. And, yeah, sorry about your door here. Bye.
So then there was the third week, and the third week is where I hit my rough spot with this. And the week started off fine. I spent Monday getting the posters up and everything, as you may have seen around the school. I put these in the wrong order. I apologize. I'm going to have to switch back to that. But yeah, I was able to put these up around the school, you may have seen, and you might have also seen I was able to put some up at places like Coffee by Design and Starbucks around town. But then after that was where, for about 3 days, I kind of just shut myself inside thinking, oh, it'll be fine if I just do memorization and just run-throughs or wherever. And again, I just shut myself in, and I didn't really talk to anyone for a little while, and that's where things didn't get so good. I would just spend a lot of time just like going through everything, without sort of, I keep losing the word, without as much motivation, and I would just kind of be like, oh yeah, just blah, 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 it'll be fine, I got time, which goes back to my procrastination problem throughout this whole project. But it was eventually Friday where I realized of that week, like, this is bad, because it was like I was being back in COVID, I kind of cut myself off from everybody, and just that lack of interaction, that lack of sort of anything with anybody just took me down. So what I did was I just started talking to people, and I said, listen, you got to get off your butt, you got to get to work. So that's what I did. I got to work on another ad that I wasn't the most happy with, but I still think was good enough quality that I was able to post that same week. And I was able to start going through everything with more thought, more intent. I started to try and incorporate other things into the show as well. From the start, I knew I wanted to have physical comedy into the show somehow, but I didn't know exactly how. So I began to include some of my friends into it who were happy to be a part of the show. I also tried including some light cues and so on and so on. So yeah, third week was a bit of a roller coaster. And checking my time. Come on, work with me. Okay, I got 4 minutes. I'm going to speed this up. So week 4 was showtime. This was the best week where I was able to get the most done. I got everything figured out. My boy Jacob here taught me how to do lighting systems. He told me how to do light cues. Hey, yo, Jacob, I see you up there. I was able to work with my people. As we can see, we have Ian Smith here looking very intently at the lighting scheme that I had drawn up. I was also able to get some of the props, namely this wonderful shopping cart for the show. That's the wrong thing. And then, of course, we had the show night, which was really an amazing thing. Again, I had a much bigger turn-up than I was expecting. I was actually able to fill up like almost this whole like front section here, which I don't know how, but it just did. Throughout this, I had to reflect on a lot of what I had learned over the past 4 years, and the 2 biggest contributors I'd say to this would be my time in theater, where I had to do a lot of public speaking through performing, and I had to do a lot of communication with people. That helped when I had to call upon my friends to aid me throughout the last bit of the project. And then creative writing class this year, and in addition with the other English classes I've taken, but I think creative writing in itself taught me the most about just doing storytelling writing and definitely comedic writing that were just a huge help through this whole process. I got to read a whole prompt from creative writing from creative writing, I had this like giant sort of like basically paragraph, or more than a paragraph, like giant chunk that I was able to just read both in creative writing and then bring over to the show, and it was just this big, vulgar, insulting advertisement for an air fryer called the Air Daddy. So what do I take away from this? I got to work with some really great people. I got to talk with a few people that I hadn't talked to in a while, and I got to get to know some of the people I got to know some people better. I did learn that I have some big weaknesses with things like procrastination and putting off my work, but at the same time, I did learn that I'm able to pick myself up from it and that I'm able to keep trucking on and improve myself. And to me, what's most important is that I learned how to better make people laugh. As if you came to see the show, you know that at the end I give a sort of monologue about the importance of comedy and how it can just get so many people into a single room together for however long and can get them to just be happy together. Like even with like the little jokes I've had up here, that's what's happened with you guys. And it's just an amazing thing to see, and I'm glad I still got it somehow. And overall, I was able to make people happy, and I know this is corny, I know it's cheesy, all right, I get it, but that is my overall favorite takeaway from this whole thing, and it's the one that matters the most to me, because performing is something I love to do, and performing just is able to make people happy, so it makes me happy in the end. And I still have a minute. Am I able to go to? Okay. So, oh yeah, I forgot. So I have a lot of thank yous for this. First, I need to thank. I got to get sappy for a minute. I got to thank Mom and Dad and my stepmom Shelly for always being there, always supporting me throughout this whole thing, even when they had to nag me over and over and over again. Thank you to the man, Mr. Phillips, for being my project advisor when I was panicking and I couldn't think of someone. Thank you to Miss Blyer, who stepped in and said, "I'll also help you with this because I just want to see what happens." Thank you to Ms. Peterson and Ms. Levitt for giving me such a really cool opportunity. Thank you to Jacob out in the back for teaching me so much, for teaching me a lot through all this. Thank you to Mez, Lucas, and Ian, my 3 friends who helped me out with this because they just helped make the show so much better and they helped to make it so much more fun. Thank you to Mr. McEwen for being so chill when I had to reschedule the show like 3 times. Thank you to Ms. Safley for everything that you have taught me throughout the past couple years about just performing and just going up and doing what you can and just trying to make people happy. Thank you to Mr. Harper for giving me the equipment to record the show, which will be put on YouTube once I'm able to get my hands on the footage for those who are interested. Thank you to my friends who have supported me out over the past 4 years and have helped me to grow into such a bigger, better person than I was when I came in. And I just got to say, again, cheesy, I know. Thank you to everyone who came to the show. I sincerely hope that you enjoyed it and that you were able to have a good time. So, any questions? I see Ms. Levitt.
When you're writing comedy, where do you get your material?
The question was, when I'm writing comedy, where do I get my material? I've focused a lot of my material on life experiences that I've had, namely over the past 4 years. I did have a couple favorite stories where a senior, when I was a sophomore, there was a senior I really looked up to, and he came over, and I was standing right here, and he complimented me on having man boobs. That was an interesting story to tell. But yeah.
We all like really love the show. Like, will you do another one?
The question was, will I ever do another show again? I would love to do another show. It was such a fun experience. I don't particularly know if I'll be able to do anything like here per se, but I'm going to be, once I'm off to school next year, there is actually a comedy club at the school I'm going to, so hopefully I can continue doing comedy once I get to Ithaca, so. Yes.
Do you ever think about doing any improv, or do you like to have your material in advance?
The question was, do I like doing improv, or I don't want to mess up your question. Do I prefer doing improv over doing more scripted comedy? And actually, when it comes to doing a show, you have to kind of be able to master both. Like, there was definitely a lot of scripted things in my show which I did exactly as I had them scripted. For example, the story about the senior with the man boobs. But there were also times where I had to just improvise something because I would read something out loud and the audience would respond to it, and I'd be able to and suddenly just something else would pop into my head, and I'd just be able to say it just on the spot. And yeah, so it's sort of a combination of both. I saw.
Would you mind re-performing one of the best jokes you did in the comedy?
Re-performing one of the best jokes. Oh I'm wondering if I have time for that. It would probably have to be the story that I've been going on about. Do you think I have time? I don't have time, unfortunately, no. I saw Connor.
How many supermodels have you had to reject this week?
For those who didn't hear, it was how many supermodels have I had to reject this week. Sadly to report, none, but I haven't checked my email yet, so maybe. Oh, we good? All right.
What comics or stand-up comics inspire you?
Question was, what comics or stand-up comics inspired me? I'd say the big one was a Australian comedian called Randy Feltface. For those who haven't heard of him, it is a dude with a puppet, but he's actually able to deliver. He has amazing comedic timing. He has really abstract jokes sometimes, and for those who saw the show, you know how I had a big monologue, a big sappy monologue at the end of the show about how comedy is important to our day-to-day lives. That actually is something I got from Randy, where he would go throughout his show, but in between certain bits, he would have these deep, sort of almost philosophical monologues about the nature of life and how we communicate with people, and so on and so on. Yes. Thank you.